just visualizing all the way down into my body, the space between my sits bones. If I roll forward a little bit, I feel the pubic bone. If I roll back a little bit, quite a little bit, there's my tailbone. Hi everybody, my name's Leah Grant here with Pure Movement Studio. Today's teaching tip is how to incorporate a foam roller to help us find dynamic breathing. We're going to try to expand our breath into 6 different directions of the body. This is probably a little bit more of an intermediate flow as it does require some kneeling. So not everybody might enjoy that kind of flexion in the knees, the hips, or weight on the ankles. So kind of do what feels right for you. I'm going to start actually seated on the foam roller with the foam roller between my legs so that I feel the right and the left sit bone on either side, and I am seated back onto my feet, right? So this again might not be for everybody. However, the foam roller is a really nice prop to help kind of support the pelvis, especially for those of us with tighter hip flexors or tighter knees. So what I'm actually going to try to picture doing, I'm just visualizing all the way down into my body, the space between my sits bones. If I roll forward a little bit, I feel the pubic bone. If I roll back a little bit, quite a little bit, there's my tailbone. If I stay up through center, it sort of makes like a triangle or like a diamond-like shape between the pubic bone, my right and left sits bones, and then the ASI or the tailbone, at the end. And what I want to picture is that I'm just going to try to inhale and soften the space between each of those points. So I'm thinking of the length of my inhale from sort of the top of my head all the way down to this punch bowl, like this cradle that is my pelvic floor, the base of my pelvis. The inhale tries to spread the space between the sits bones and the pubic bone and tailbone. Almost like I'm softening into the foam roller, and then just allow the exhale to happen. So this can be quite uncomfortable for some people. Another option might be a soft ball or to drape a towel over the foam roller. I'm going to dismount, coming off to one side as it's right for me. And then we're going to look now a little bit more at the front to back. So I'm going to come to lengthwise on the foam roller. Laying all the way down onto my back, I feel the weight of the head, spread of the rib cage, weight of the pelvis. I'm connecting my feet down into the mat. Shoulders are dropped back and down. I'm going to look 2 different directions here, front to back, and then a side to side. So I'm going to bring the hands to the front of my body first. And I'm just going to let gravity, I'm going to take like a me moment here. Inhaling into the front and back of my body. So I can use the hands to sense sort of the buoy in my inhale into the front of my body. But I really also want to use the foam roller behind me to sense any movement into the back of the body. And this might be quite a bit harder for some of us. But just starting to play with that awareness. And then allow the body to soften. I'm going to bring the hands now. I'm going to focus on the heel of my hand pressing into the side of my rib wall. Right? So I'm almost like bookends. I'm gently kind of squeezing that rib cage beside me. I'm going to let the elbows drop so that I'm pretty soft through the whole body, not holding on to anything too tightly. And now I want to try to find the feeling that the rib wall is expanding laterally or side to side. So I encourage you to, when you're moving into explorative inhales, think of them as more like a sniff of air. I'm actually kind of pressing my tongue to the soft palate at the roof of my mouth. And I picture sort of like I'm opening my throat, like I'm trying to swallow a pill or something. So I feel like I'm inhaling kind of down the back column of my neck into the rib wall behind me. And I feel more movement in the right side, but a little less in the left. And that's just like an awareness then, right? I know it's new information about my body as it relates to the power of my inhale. So I'm a little weaker in my lateral inhale on the left side. Let's keep going, moving to a seated position. Continuing to play a little bit with that lateral breathing, I now want to switch into more of a child's pose. So I'm going to bring the foam roller underneath me towards the ankles. I'm going to kind of shift my body weight back. And then let's go ahead and walk the body forward. And I'm actually going to kind of push into my hands a little bit here to curl my body forward. Ooh. I think I'm going to drop my elbows too. I think that's going to give me, yes, a little bit more feedback. So I'm standing into my elbows to shift the weight back towards my heels. Trying to stay sort of weighted towards the foam roller behind me. Letting my head and neck go. We're now going to try to expand because the thighs are sort of pushing into the belly. It's a little harder to breathe down. So now I want us to picture we're breathing up. And I'm standing into my arms. I'm shifting my center of gravity back. I'm trying to open the space from my mid-rib wall down to that curvature in my low back and beyond. So letting the whole body go, standing just down into those forearms to shift your center of gravity back in space. Take a couple focused breaths here. And again, mine are going to be small, but explorative. Woo. I just realized I could let my head and neck go a little more weighted. Ooh. It's kind of tight back there. I'm going to push a little bit more into my right elbow and the right foot, shin area, to shift a little bit to my left lane. And see if I can get that rib wall movement in the left side that I struggled with on my back. Whew. Slowly, I'm going to start to press myself all the way back up. I'm going to take a little me moment here, because with my head a little lower than my heart, we want to be careful kind of coming out of that so we don't get dizzy. So last but not least is a little bit of a lateral, one more lateral stretch with our breathing to offer you. So I'm actually going to come back into this seated position, and we're going to look at a little bit of a side bend, which adding that same kind of push we just explored with in our forearms, this time in our hands, it's that same weight shift that's going to help us deepen the breath work. So I'm going to bring my left hand down. Notice right away I'm starting to kind of shift my center of gravity into the left, right? Because I'm falling to the left. So from my left hand, I want to kind of push myself a little bit to the right, as though my right sit bone is dropping down towards the right foot. And I felt the foam roller roll ever so slightly over to the right. So I'm really kind of shifting my rib wall over to the far wall. And again, maybe start with small breaths. I'm also going to turn the sits bones underneath me just a little bit. You may not be able to see that in the video. In doing so, I feel more stretch now through the back of my rib wall. And there's a little bit of that posterior breathing we were exploring earlier. Whew, I'm going to come out of that. I feel my center of gravity come through middle, right? Through my center, actually. Now I'm going to fall to the right a little bit, right? Because I'm reaching for the floor. And then I'm going to use the hand to push my body over into the left lane. Feel like the left sit bone is dropping down towards the left heel. From here, I'm going to come back to engaging the front of my body, using that exhale to pull my rib wall back in space a little bit, like I'm ever so slightly rolling to the back side of my sits bones. There's the little pelvic awareness we started with, which is going to change the feeling of the stretch from maybe the front of the body to the back of that left shoulder. And then all the way back up. And let it breathe. Thank you so much. I hope today's teaching tip helps you build more awareness around your inhales, whether that's front, back, side, top to bottom, right? Expanding the power of your breath. If you like today's class, be sure to hit our subscribe button and check out some more of our playlists for other classes and movement tips.